probably dead. His body will come popping up in the last reel somewhere. Eyes gouged out, fingers cut off, teeth knocked out. See, the police are always off track with this shit. If they watch prom night, they'd save time. There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
Here's Johnny. Groovy.
Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to the spooky season, baby. It's Halloween. It's that time. This is Halloween. It's 2022, y'all, and this is our first inaugural spooky season where we're going to celebrate everything in the world of horror and Halloween-themed stuff all month long, whether it's TV shows, movies, you know what I mean? Didn't really get to some other types of media for that, but we going to keep on pushing, man, and we're going to be covering nothing. We're not nothing but mostly horror content all month long. We've been doing it already. We've dropped reviews for things like The Lost Boys from 1987. We didn't drop some other dope stuff, man. We've been covering all the modern stuff. Werewolf by Night, Halloween Ends, of course. Michael Myers up in this thing, ending off the David Gordon Green trilogy. We've been covering all the horror goodness. So if you haven't already, click that subscribe button down below the video. It helps the show out immensely. And all you beautiful subscribers that have been coming through to the channel, joining this great fandom frequency community where it's nothing about peace, love, and positivity and pop culture, baby. So that's what it's all about. Much love to each and every one of you that have joined already and to all the future people that are going to join. Much love for you also. And if you're just tuning in for the first time and just want to get some horror content for your spooky season, welcome. We're going to be getting into it, y'all. It's all about one of my personal favorite films of all time. We're not going to get into any of the BTS controversy with the filmmaker himself. Y'all know the deal. If you don't, you can go ahead and hit those Googles. We're not going to cover that here. We're going to strictly get into all the stuff of the film, what I love about it, and my background and how I became a fan of it. It's the original and one of the only good ones in this weird-ass franchise. Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those peepers? Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those eyes, y'all? Where'd you get those eyes? That's what we want to know. That's what we want to know. So, that's what it's all about, guys. We're going to be talking about Jeepers Creepers, one of my personal childhood favorites, man. One of the films that actually turned me into a horror fan and one of the first modern horror films I had ever seen because just giving y'all some background on myself as a horror fan, of course, I got into it with the Universal Monster movies, you know what I'm saying? And that was my whole introduction into it with that. Like true blue live action horror films, all that black and white stuff, the Vincent Price movies and things like that. And then I ended up watching Scooby-Doo as a kid. Always still like a comfort jam right there for me. Always been my jam. Saw the live action film and all that stuff about a year after this film came out, actually, funny enough. So about a couple years before I had seen Jeepers Creepers, I went and saw Scooby-Doo live action, all that other shit, right? So I was already into horror, man, seeing the original Scream and Scream 2. And that was it. Hadn't seen Scream 3 yet. And yeah, so I was starting to become a horror fan at the time. And then we stumbled across this movie at Walmart, I believe. And Walmart or Target, one of them. And I saw Jeepers Creepers. And my mom remembered the old song that I was just singing, right? And she was like, oh, okay, let's go see what this is all about. And then that's when I discovered, holy shit, man, the greatness of the creeper himself, the overall concept and all that stuff, and also the greatness of the two lead actors, Gina Phillips as Trish Jenner, and of course, my boy, Justin Long playing Derry Jenner, no relation to the Kardashian family over there, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, those two, first time I ever seen them, especially my boy Justin Long. I'm a huge Justin Long fan. I love everything he does.
Answer the question?
Nah, I'm not going to answer your question because you guys have already made up your minds. I'm an expert in rejection and I can see it on your faces. And it's too bad that you judge us by the way we look and not by who we are. Just because you want us to be more like them, when the truth is we're not like them, and I am damn proud of that fact.
Even silly shit like Tusk, I even like it. So that's my boy, and that was the first film I seen him in, and that just totally blew my mind because I hadn't really seen too many slasher movies, but I was aware of them because of because of the Scream films, right? So I was like, okay, yeah, I see that there's these movies kind of like that Psycho movie people talk about where they go around stabbing folks and killing folks, whatever. And this was one of the first ones that I had saw that was straight up serious, no comedy really there, too much at all. It starts off lighthearted and whatnot. And once we get to the reveal of the actual creeper himself, holy shit, it fucking blew my young little mind, man. I was like, what the fuck? What is that? You know what I'm saying? And just the whole brilliance of the creeper as a character, and the whole way that this film was just so perfectly executed and well made at the time, and just so great in the way that it just really was impactful on me as a youngin', you know what I'm saying? And really made me like the thrill of being scared and being creeped out and being like, what the fuck is that? And what would I do in that situation? Would you go back to that pipe? Would you want to help somebody? Would you care if it was you down there? All those questions and all those things that horror movies pose towards us, and all the emotions, the highs and the lows that these horror films and these thriller films take you through. That was one of my first real raw experiences after seeing the original Scream and Scream 2, of course. So right around that time, man, I was getting swept up in the horror goodness. This was one of those movies that definitely solidified it for me until I got into my preteens and started checking out the other current releases like The Strangers and watching some of the other classic Friday the 13th movies, sneaking those in at night, you know what I mean? So this was the birth, this was the origin, almost in a sense, of the first modern horror film outside of the Scream franchise that I had ever seen. So it really, really blew my mind, man. Or at least the first one I remember, one of the first ones I remember watching. But it really blew my mind. I'm such a huge fan of this film, and it really does bum me out, unfortunately, that the sequels never quite live up to the hype of this original film. I like 2 a good bit, but there's some issues with it. We will cover it some point here on the channel, that's for sure. But where I'm at the moment, 2's just whatevs. The rest of the franchise, I have no interest in watching. I hear nothing but terrible things. I've seen part of 3. I don't want to watch Reborn. I'm good. You know what I mean? I don't even want to, I'll just stick to my original and maybe dabble with number 2 every now and again. But I'll stick with the OG. Usually the OG is the best, except for a few, very, very select few franchises out there, and I ain't just talking horror. So, yeah, man. So that's pretty much my background on that, man, when I saw the film and all that shit, dude. But there is one particular fact that I heard about that I first initially heard about it from one of the great horror YouTube channels, man, one of the great voices out there in the horror community, Wolfman Got Nards. Make sure you check him out. I think he's I know he's from overseas. I really love his content and everything, so you guys should definitely check him out whenever you get a chance. And I'm going to drop him down below just as a reference of where I first heard this information. But apparently, and from what it seems like, this whole premise of the creeper, the brother and sister on the road, seeing him dump the body, all that stuff, and the whole way that the whole big opening and inciting incident of the first act of this film is taken directly from a real life case of these two sisters, this brother and sister in real life, 2 siblings that did that did come in contact with the killer and did get evidence of it and was trying to get the plates and information to give it to the police and all that. All of that really took place and was actually highlighted in an Unsolved Mysteries episode back in the late 90s, I believe, maybe early 2000s. But the actual crime itself and the whole entire event that this film seems to be very, very, not loosely, but very much kind of based off of, seems to have gone down in this particular crime and from this particular serial killer. Let me get the name here. I wrote it down for my notes. Where it is at. Dennis DePue is the person that the creeper is sort of based on. And the whole real life incident that happened actually was an occurrence that happened back in 1990. So that totally, I guess, inspired the filmmaker to write the script, to come up with the idea, and he just pushed it further and really made it creative with the creeper idea and all the elements that come with that. So I really, really, really love how he took that real life story, made it into his own, never claimed it was based on a true story per se, but just kind of made his own thing and did his own thing at the time, just creatively. I dig that because a lot of movies would try, and even some movies that I really dig, like The Strangers or other things, will say based on a true story, where it's loosely based, it's not really like that closely tied to it. This, besides having like a weird creature going after him and a very few select changes in like kind of some of the things going down, it's very, very close to the real life events of these 2 siblings coming across this serial killer, Dennis DePue, where he was driving down the street and went right past him and got into the other lane in a green van, and they heard the sound of the van, very similar to how the creeper has that really big loud horn on the truck, and it has that old school model to it, but you can't quite tell where it's from. This was just a regular old school van, probably like a 60s, 70s van, you know what I mean? and this guy was just speeding past him, and then they didn't pay it much attention until they came across this building and seen the van parked there and seen a guy dumping a body, from what it seems like, wrapped in a sheet with bloodstains on it. So they're like, oh shit, we got to figure out where this guy's at. So they try to go follow up with him and get the plates and everything so they can alert the authorities and, be good Samaritans and whatnot. But when they do that, they come across the spot where he's at and they see that he's kneeling down behind the van, and they can see in the passenger side door that there's blood smeared all over it on the inside of the door. So they're like, oh shit. And unlike the movie, ain't nobody crawling into a pipe or trying to go investigate. Even for the white folks in this particular scenario, they said, fuck that shit, I'm out. You need to go get your head examined. If you know that reference, drop it in the comments. But yeah, man, super funny. Weird, crazy shit, and how people no one's gonna do what they do in the horror movies. I'm not that curious. I'm dipping out of here. So I love how that went down. So they got the fuck on out of Dodge, and that was pretty much the end of the thing. And they told the authorities, and they ended up catching up to this guy that had killed others before and did things to his own family members and whatnot. If you really want to take a deep dive, check out that Dennis DePue character. You're really into, not character but person, my bad. If you want to check out the Dennis DePue guy, you're really into true crime. That's definitely an interesting element for those out there that do that. But I like to keep it fictional for the most part. But thought that was a very interesting kind of behind the scenes tidbit that I definitely wanted to share with y'all here. Get into the nitty gritty, take a deep dive into good old Jeepers Creepers, man. And as I mentioned before, this film has a very small cast comparatively, not a lot of main characters, but that really works to its benefit. Gina Phillips.
Could you possibly just shut up and drive, please?
You broke my heart in two. Now I can't find the duct tape to put it together for you. Come on, girl, sing along now.
Justin Long leading as the two brother and sister, Derry and Trish Jenner. They're on the road playing a game, getting different words out of the letters and numbers on the license plates. Just playing a road game to try to pass time. They're on the way home to visit the fam for the holidays. They're on the way back from college. His brother, the brother, Derry, of course, Justin Long, hasn't seen his sister in a minute, and they're kind of catching up and whatnot, and she seems a little bit down in the dumps, not quite like herself, and apparently she's going through some drama with some sidetrack meet guy, or whatever. So sidetrack meet, some guy that's in the psychology as a major, but also does track, I guess. So Derry starts clowning on her and whatnot, and then you get the creeper running up on the ass, man.
You're a twit
What the hell's his problem?
Just get out of his way, Derry!
You know what I'm saying? Hitting his horn and shit like he's in Dukes of Hazzard, but trying to run people off the road. This motherfucker's trying to get up out of Dodge so he can go back to his Sistine Chapel of bodies, I guess. And they're like, whoa, what the fuck is up with this guy? He almost ran us off the fucking road. And then freaking Derry notices that the license plate says beating you. He tries to use that in his little game to even the score and whatnot. Trisha's like, get the fuck out of here with that. But all fun and games are over with once they kind of come up to this church building and pass it by on their way down the road there, and they see the creeper himself, but they don't know it's the creeper yet. The same dude in the same fucking truck van thing, dumping a body into the fucking pipe that right there in this church or whatever, this abandoned church, and they're like, whoa, what the fuck? And then they keep going on though, like, hey, keep going. He sees him, like, oh shit, goes after him and all that. They find a way to get away. He goes on his merry old way, and then Derry and Trish stop for a minute to try to process what the fuck they just saw, and they're like, oh shit, man, that's some crazy shit. And Derry's like, we gotta go find out what the hell's going on. And this is where the whole shit goes from the true story, and they just completely go off the rails. Horror movie tropes, baby. They gotta go investigate it, I guess. He somewhat justifies it by saying, what if it was us down there? What if they're still alive? What if we go intervene and we can help these people and save them and get help? A lot of people don't get that chance with a lot of the people that are victimized by these killers and whatnot. So let's go try to do the right thing. Trish gives in, and I'm like, God damn it. But, we got to have a movie. We got to have a story. So they go back over there, go through the little, Derry hasn't fallen in through the freaking, in the little, Jesus Christ, the little pipe or whatever, and down into the cellar of the place. And that's when he sees all the bodies, the two kids that went missing 20 years ago, and there's still some dude in a bag that's all stitched up to where he's been ripped open, apparently. And as we all know, us horror fans that have already seen this thing know, the creeper's out for your body parts, baby. where'd you get them peepers, dog? And he's been ripping up this dude and sewing him up, and he like petrifies the bodies, kind of like people petrify wood to preserve it, to like do different sculptures and shit like that with it. It looks like he preserves the bodies, and he's just like sewing them all together for some fucking weird ass reason, and maybe it was just for the visual and for the shock value, but I never could quite understand why does he keep these bodies, and why does he keep the fucking, like, why does he need the bodies? What does that have to do with anything? Just get the shit and get rid of them. You know what I mean? But who knows? I don't know. Whatever. Maybe just trying to move the plot along. I'm not sure. But and then shit just starts hitting the fan, and everything just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating. And the tension is so damn palpable in this movie, man. It has you on the edge of your seat every time I watch it, man. It's just so engaging. It really just jumps from that lighthearted road trip thing that you're kind of feeling like you're getting into a Richard Linklater movie, and it completely flips it on your head, and you think you're about to get into some Texas Chainsaw Friday the 13th shit on the side of the road. And then and then the script throws you for another loop because of the fucking creature. It's a demon. And the lady Giselle, you know what I'm saying, played by Patricia Belker probably. She's like this psychic woman, kind of like a medium, so to speak, and she's having these visions and can see the same things that Derry was seeing and the same things that other victims, I think, or presumably have seen in the past, and she knows what's up with this creeper for some odd reason, right? And I've always had all these different theories, man. Like maybe she had a family member that was taken by the creeper before, and maybe once you come in contact with the creeper, maybe you get some kind of weird connection. They never really went into it, which I do appreciate and dig that it's a little more ambiguous and left open to interpretation without contradicting any of the logic of what came before in the film. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely dig that. And it's very eerie how Giselle knows all this shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's pretty crazy because you can't deny what this woman's saying, even though it sounds crazy as fuck. So that's what I like about it.
Don't understand.
Are they ever wrong? Are your dreams ever wrong?
She doesn't know. She doesn't know shit.
It's like this weird, like, supernatural thing of she's right, but I don't know if I should really trust this lady. So it's really, really interesting how they pull that off, man. I really, really love that about this movie, man. And it's just so well done. Like the creeper himself, played by the great Jonathan Breck, he really brought this character to life. And it's definitely made the creeper, in my mind, a bona fide horror icon. He just is like kind of like Pinhead a little bit. A lot of whack sequels, you know what I'm saying? Just whack sequels in a sense, to where that original really does stand the test of time. The character really made an impact initially and really does stand the test of time and really deserves to be in that conversation. It really was effective, especially for people at my age who were just there to see the film as it came out when it first hit DVD and all that stuff and first started hitting the home release market and shit. It's pretty crazy to see just how much of an impact that the creeper has had, not just on the horror community, but just in Halloween and the costumes and some of the merchandising as well. So the creeper definitely stands the test of time and is one of the few, I would say, brand new horror icons of the 21st century. I think you got very few others to really compare that to, you know? Jigsaw, potentially Pennywise, and or Sam from Trick or Treat. I think Art the Clown is definitely in the conversation now. So it's great to see all these different horror icons and different things coming in the mix, but the creeper definitely deserves to be in that conversation, and you got to put some respect on that name of just the character and whatnot, and just separate those kind of creepy things from these things, you know? But just so fucking amazing how you just get this whole animalistic side to the creeper for the whole second half of the film. And once they get to that old lady's place and you get the first full-on reveal of the creature's face, it is like, what the fuck is that thing? And he starts grinning at him, and I'm like, what is this thing, man? Like, I've seen so many theories online over the years about what this thing is, and we'll never really quite know. And I don't even know if I want them to necessarily give me the answer, but it's so fucking interesting. I'm like, what is this thing? Like, I do hope someday someone can make a cool continuation or remake of this thing and maybe kind of put some hints in there of what it could be and a little bit of where it comes from, just to kind of whet our appetites a little bit and do something a little different and kind of answer those questions without contradicting anything. I hope someone can strike that balance one day, you know what I mean? I think that'd be kind of cool to explore just a little bit of that, because I think the stuff they do in like 2 and 3 doesn't necessarily mesh well with the way they were exploring things that were set up here in the first one. 2, not as much, not as egregiously, but 3 really went off the rails with some of the stuff that I've heard that they did with the lore. So I don't know why they turned him into Batman in Jeepers Creepers 3. It's really stupid. Not in this one. He has a few blades. He has an axe that he be chopping niggas up with, but I don't really mind him having an axe and a knife or two. That makes sense. He's got to be a slasher, but he's technically not a slasher. So I like the way they kind of swerve you and give you a creature flick and a slasher film and a road film kind of all together, you know what I mean? It's really dope, man. It's like blending all these different subgenres and stuff together. This is just such a well done film. It's always been one of my favorites, man. It really creeped the hell out of me when I was a kid, man. Like, it really, really creeped me out. And yeah, man, like, it's just so damn great, man. It's just such an awesome story in the way that you don't get the happy ending. You know what I'm saying? Like, Derry gets taken at the end by the creeper, and freaking Trish is yelling at him when they're at the cop station.
You don't want Derry. No, you don't.
Don't shoot me, a hero!
I have everything the same inside. You take me! You hear me? You take me! You fucking let him go!
He's like, nah, bitch, I want these eyes, baby. I want them peepers, baby. I don't like your eyes. I like his eyes. I want his. And the freaking cops and all this police station, they ain't ready for this motherfucker. The creeper's crawling up the walls and shit, taking niggas out, taking hearts and shit. Like, he literally was like crawling on the freaking ceiling, grabbed a cop, pulled him up into the fucking up to the ceiling, took his heart from out of his chest and shit, freaking Jason Voorhees style in part 7 or whatever the fuck that was, and then just dangles him there, and you just see this fucking like hole in his freaking torso with his freaking heart missing. It's freaking insane, man. He's over there just taking body parts left and right, just murking these fools, T-1000 style, but like a fucking animal creature thing. It is so insane, man. It is so insane. It's one of the creepiest sequences, man. I swear. And it's like, it just always has me on the edge of my seat. I even know what's gonna happen at this point. I've been watching this movie for like 21 years and shit almost, for almost 20 years and all that. And I still be on the edge of my seat every time I see that. It's so crazy. I love it. And it's just such great stuff, man. And then like I said, he got those peepers. You see Derry's corpse and shit, and there's no eyeballs there, bro. And you hear the screams in the dark little hideout that the creeper has for himself and wherever the fuck he's at, right? Wherever he got his new location after he burned the church down, man. Getting rid of the evidence, bro. You ain't got no trail of my ass. Skin's dead. You can't track me, bitch. He touches the car to try to get Prince when he goes to go get a bit of the scent out of Derry's clothes in the car when they're at the diner trying to get help, and they end up talking to the Giselle and all that earlier on. It's fucking crazy, man. Like, I just love the way they do that. And just a couple other little tidbits, too, behind the scenes-wise, before I forget to mention them. It was pretty interesting to see how Gina Phillips was doing an interview back in 2001, probably 2001 when the film dropped, around that time, early 2000s, where she was actually discussing the fact that she actually grew up a huge horror fan and has actually gotten to the point where she's almost desensitized to the scares, sort of like us in a certain sense. So it's pretty interesting to see how she has she's actually a horror fan that has gone on to do horror films herself, and it is I would say, an iconic horror film in her own right, man, in its own right.
I am a horror movie fanatic, and I grew up on them. And I don't find many things scary. Things just don't scare me, because I'm almost jaded. Like, it's just all, not frightening to me anymore. And after the first 20 pages of reading the script, I had to put it down.
Let's see here, man. I'm looking through her IMDb just to see if she did any horror leading up to it or maybe after. Don't see anything that's jumping out to me. So she was doing stuff in the early 90s. I see that. She did Ally McBeal for a minute, but obviously that's not horror, duh. Okay, we got Jeepers Creepers right there. The one, of course. Dead and Breakfast. It looks like that might be a horror movie. Let's see, man. Yeah, she did Jeepers Creepers 3. Quick cameo, bro. Quick cameo. So that's very interesting, man. Let me see. Is any of this horror movies? Yeah, dude. So she's been in a handful of horror movies. So she's kind of a little bit of a scream queen in her own right. Scream queen. Let me make sure I got it right. Goddamn. Learn how to talk, Kenny. But she's a scream queen in her own right, and I think kind of deserves a little more respect in that regard, man. Not saying she's necessarily, one of the top tier ones of all time, but I think she needs to be in the conversation, at least for the modern era, no doubt. And Justin Long definitely likes horror movies as well, and as he mentioned, and he's done some other ones as well. So he's kind of like a little bit of a scream king in the making. And if he keeps doing like more, which I hope he does, I think he definitely deserves to be in that conversation. And we don't get a lot of final guys. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of final dudes running around, you know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see if he keeps on going on doing more horror flicks. And speaking of which, for Justin Long, quick tangent, his latest film, Barbarian, that apparently has been blowing people's minds, is going to be dropping on HBO Max next Tuesday. So look for a spoiler review next Tuesday for that film. I should be able to shoot, edit it, and drop it that same day. Hopefully, unless my schedule and availability and all that shit changes. Look out for that on October 25th. I think I should be able to do it. If my schedule changes or something, If something comes up, I'll update y'all. But I think it's coming on the 25th, so be on the look for that. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be hitting that Barbarian review. I've been very excited to see what all the hype is about. So just wanted to throw that out there while it crossed my mind when we're talking about Justin Long. And I'm not going on too much of a weird-ass tangent, but yeah, man, I absolutely love this film. I don't really have too many critiques for it other than a couple dumb decisions that they made to kind of get the plot going. But other than that, this film to me is a damn near flawless film in general. One of the best horror movies made of all time, in my personal opinion, and most definitely one of the best horror films in the last 20 years, hands down. I will take that shit to the bank. I will bet on that. I will die on a hill for that one, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'll be running up that hill, and then I'll die on that hill to prove it. You know what I'm saying? You know I had to throw in Stranger Things. You know it. So this is my bag. This is my jam. But I want to hear from y'all, man. Let me know what you think about this film down in the comments. And as I said with the warning in the beginning, and as I said just with the verbal warning, let's just try to keep this thing light. Let's not try to get too deep into the controversy of behind the scenes. Let's just talk about the film, what we like or don't like about the film, what we think about the legacy of the Creeper as a character, of Trish and Derry as characters and everything going on there. Do you think Justin Long deserves to be in that Scream King? Does he deserve to be that final guy? Is he in that conversation? Is Gina Phillips in that final girl conversation? Is she a Scream? Scream. I can't believe I keep doing that. Is she a Scream queen in her own right? I want to hear from y'all down below. Drop your thoughts down there. It's been so great getting into all these fun discussions with y'all lately. So let's keep that train rolling. Let's keep on moving. And until next time, guys, make sure you stay safe out there. Check that candy if you're going trick-or-treating with your youngins coming up here on Halloween and all your costume parties and events. Make sure you're staying safe out there. And we got plenty more spooky season coming at you. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Hashtag more cowbell. You won't miss a thing. And until next time, y'all, trick-or-treat and don't sleep. Peace.
How they hypnotize. Knock me out. Where'd you get those eyes? Where'd you get them? Won't you put me wise? Don't you shy, man. Pay to advertise. Tell them about me. Where did you get those eyes?